What's up? Welcome to KWK Today. Thank you so much for joining. And listen, it's time for you to tell Lottie, Dottie, and Dee to tune in right here and right now. If not, of course, you see it online later on. We are making history today. Aren't we, production team? Oh, they sound so excited, I can't get over it. Look, next week, we're gonna have a guy who's gonna come in and tell you how you can have a fabulous vacation this summer and pay for it in cash, how to finance your child's education, pay for it right there. That's next week. The following week, we've got the multi-award winning Houston's own Yolanda Adams. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And we're gonna talk about everything except music when Yolanda comes on. But hey, that's 2 weeks from now. Let me tell you about today. Drum roll. Any drum rollers here? Drum roll, please. Ching! That's kind of weak, but it's all good. Seriously, she could have been on MSNBC today. She could have been on CNN today. She could have been on Good Morning with George Stephanopoulos, whatever his name is. But instead, she's here with you and me in the hood on KWK. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the one whose picture is right there in the children's area of the KBC, Dr. Jeanette Epps, who is an astronaut. Obviously, she didn't buy that suit somewhere at a Halloween store. That's a real astronaut suit. And she has a PhD and a master's, all that good stuff, which we're going to talk about later. But let me pause now and say first to Monica. Monica, who's my official co-host today, thank you for getting the good doctor here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Excited for KWK and our church family and all that this hour will bring.
Good idea to use the microphone. My bad for not telling you that. Monica was on the show, as you recall, a few weeks ago as chief of staff over at NASA. Johnson Space Center, and she's got the hookup, and I'm so excited. You know, I've already told them, I've told you, I'm excited, excited, excited. So here we go. How you doing, first of all? Thank you for coming.
Well, no, thank you for having me, and Monica, thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here, and I see we're going to have a lot of fun.
We are going to have some fun. So before we talk about where we are now, where you are now, let's go back. As the folk you say in the hood, let's go way back. Let's go to elementary school. Maybe go to elementary school, those years. What was it like? Wait, I need to do this. In case you don't know, you know what? You'll say this a lot more eloquently and accurately than me.
Okay.
What is Dr. Epps going to do later on this year?
Dr. Jeanette Epps will make history for our nation and for our community. She will be the first African-American female to live a long duration stay on board the International Space Station, which means when she launches on another history-making event, a commercial vehicle, the Boeing Starliner vehicle, she is a member of the Boeing Starliner 1 crew. She will be the first African-American female to live on board the International Space Station. And we are so excited, and we are so proud.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So before we go there, let's back it up. Back. Elementary school days. What was it like growing up in Syracuse, New York? And you have 6 or 7 siblings.
I have 6 siblings.
And what was it like growing up with 6 siblings, too?
Well, one of the 6, she's my twin. She's the youngest.
Uh-huh.
Her name is Janet. So everyone's like Janet and Jeanette. Yeah, my mother thought it was cute. But growing up, you know, we were regular kids. We were kids who loved math and science, though.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, despite not having parents who were engineers or scientists, we were encouraged to do whatever we wanted in life. We were never told, hey, because you're a little brown girl, you can't do this. My mother had no clue what we wanted to do, but she encouraged every bit of it. And we also had a lot of people in Syracuse, New York, who really helped us get through and encouraged us to become whatever we wanted. And so we did not grow up with a ton of money. We were the youngest of 7. But, you know, that's not a reason to not be successful in
Right.
this life. And excuse me,
No,
in
you're
order
good.
to be successful, it is a determined spirit that gets you there.
Right.
And then having people who are very encouraging and helping you along the way
Right.
is very important in this whole life, because sometimes you start at the top of the ladder, sometimes you start at the bottom. It doesn't matter where you start, but becoming successful, having those kind of people in your life really
So when you were in elementary school, did your classmates tease you about anything?
Oh, yes. So, of course, being the youngest of 7, we had older brothers and sisters who preceded us, but the kids in school would tease us and would, give us a hard time about being the smart girls in school. And our parents were very restrictive on what we could do. And,
For
they
instance,
would say that again.
for instance,
like-
what could you not do?
We couldn't stay out late. We
In
couldn't-
elementary school?
Well, meaning we couldn't stay after school for activities. We had to be home right after school.
Gotcha.
Our mom and dad wanted us close by all the time.
So you keep an eye on you.
Keep an eye on us. And, yeah,
See?
exactly. And we didn't have cable television. We were allowed to watch public television, maybe.
Ah.
Or if the Muppets came on or something like that. And so we weren't allowed
So
to
did you
do a
like
whole
the
lot.
Muppets?
Yes, that was the.
Because that's all you could watch.
That's all we had at the time. That's
Yeah.
all we had.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it really, in elementary school, Gina and I, we were just really heavily protected by our older brothers and sisters. So
Got
if
it.
anyone really did kind of give us a hard time,
Call your brother.
or call my older sister, my older brother, and so no one really bothered us, but they would give us a hard time.
Got it.
And they were, we were called the girls who couldn't go out late or at dark, or
Right.
and those are the smart girls, and the nerds, and or
So did
people
that
who-
bother you? Not really.
Well, it didn't bother us because we had people we trusted who encouraged us.
Got
Like,
it.
we were all about our family growing up.
Gotcha.
If my mother said it was okay, it was okay. It didn't matter what other people said. If my
Gotcha.
older brothers and sisters encouraged it, it didn't matter what other people said. And it does bother you initially, but when you have other people telling you, oh, that doesn't matter, people who you love telling you, oh, it doesn't matter. Plus, I had a partner in crime, my twin sister.
I see.
And so having someone who agreed with you is also important.
So, right.
Yeah.
So as a 9 or 10-year-old, you basically had a culture that was well established, protected, and respected by you and your sister.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, and I should add that we kind of feared our parents too,
Oh,
because we did see that.
Here we go now.
Yeah. Well, this was a time when spanking was okay.
Yeah,
and
I remember
my
those
older
days.
brothers.
Yeah.
My older brothers and sisters would bring home bad grades, and that was not a good day for them.
I got you.
And
I
so
got you.
Jan and I, we were probably, very obedient kids because we saw what could happen.
Yeah.
And that's the culture.
Doc, excuse me for a minute. I forgot to tell you. Listen, yes, you can ask Dr. Epps questions. We may probably get to them about 1:35, but feel free to go ahead and send those in right now. But just, but send in a good, well, I know you're sending a good question, but let us say something that you have a question about. And I know some of you parents may have questions already. So let's slide a little bit. I mean, I could talk to you for 30 minutes just about elementary school age. But, and as a matter of fact, let me ask you one more question about elementary. And if you don't want to answer this, then just nod your head and we'll go to mid-high and senior high. Can you remember the biggest disappointment you had in elementary school, and how did you get over it? That you can talk about.
Well, one of my earliest memories was when Janet and I started kindergarten. And we started when we were 4 years old. It was September. Our birthday's in November. And so we were a little younger than some of the other students because they had to wait a full year before they could come on. And so everyone else was already 5, and they had already kind of gone through pre-K. And Janet and I, we just started. And I remember they separated Janet and me.
Ooh.
Exactly. As a 4-year-old,
Why?
that was traumatic. Well, they said, well, they're twins, but we should separate them
That's
so that they can
so
grow.
stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Monica.
Well, especially for a 4-year-old,
Yeah,
it
that's
was
what I'm talking
traumatic.
about.
And that was one of my first memories of sitting there. I had a cute little dress. The top was white with red polka dots, and the bottom was all red.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there with my toy and would not talk to anyone for the whole day until my mother came back and picked us up. And the teachers tried everything, but that was one of my first memories.
Yeah. And one reason I wanted to ask that, and you know why, Monica knows why. I want you to know why. This sister is so phenomenal. I just want you to know she's a human being, and she grew up like everybody else.
Just like everyone else.
Believe it or not. Yes. And we're going to get to some things later on that's going to make you question that, but that is the case. So, mid-high, senior high days. Anything in particular you want to share about that? Because I got a couple of quick questions. And let me start with a semi-zinger.
Yes.
Right? So did you ever have a relationship in mid-high or senior high school which caused your parents to think your future may be in jeopardy because you're involved with that person?
So for me, no, partly because I didn't always introduce everyone to my mom. And my older brothers and sisters taught me that. That not everyone. But Jan and I, we were very obedient kids, and we were very obedient in high school. Like even as a freshman in high school, I was asked to the prom, and I wanted to go so badly. My mother said no, and so I didn't go to the prom that year. But eventually, I went to my own prom. So we were very, very obedient.
So wait a minute. So you had some friends, but if you knew your parents didn't like them, your parents just never met them.
That's
Kirby,
correct.
you hear that?
That's correct. And because my older brothers and sisters had friends that my mother would.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. So, Doc, when did you realize you were smart?
Well,
I know that's kind of an embarrassing question, but let's just be honest. You know, you have an undergraduate degree in physics. You have a master's and PhD in aerospace engineering. Did I say it right? And we're gonna get to some other stuff. Clearly, you're not smart. You're brilliant. I mean, so when did you begin to get in touch with the fact that your intelligence level may not be average?
So I think I would always say that I don't think I'm the smart one. I was just not. I worked really hard.
Okay.
And I think that's the thing that I'm not a, there's only very, very few people who are like geniuses and super smart and they automatically know things.
Right.
But one of the mottos that my mother had growing up was that, everything is hard until you learn it.
Mm-hmm.
If you learn it and you study hard over time, consistency over time, you'll start grasping it. And then all of a sudden it becomes easy. And so she wasn't a physicist or an engineer, but she knew that she could learn it. And so I think what people always said to Janet and me, oh, you guys are smart, you did this. No, we just worked hard. And I think the people who saw that we worked hard really invested in us. And so I think more so than being smart, I think working hard and being determined is more important.
There you go.
Because you'll have a lot of kids who are super smart, but they never go anywhere with it. But it's the determined person that will get to the end.
Yes, yes. What drives you? I was going to wait until phase 2, but by the way, we get a chance to have Dr. Epps and Monica for 2 hours. We're going to do phase 1, part 1 now, and check this out. I think this is a drum roll, Monica. Drum roll, please. Ching! Boy, about cutting up over there. You'll hear part 2 when Dr. Epps is up in space. That is so cool, and that's Monica's idea. That is so cool. So that'll air later, but back to here and back to right now. So what drives you right now, do you think?
Well, despite being a very shy person.
Are you shy?
I am introverted, I'll say that.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. What's funny? Did somebody crack a joke? Is there a mouse in here or something? I mean, I'm not shy, but I'm an introvert. And anyway, we'll just talk about that. I'm not talking to you right now, Monica. You my co-host. You're supposed to be helping me.
Sorry.
So anyway, back to Dr. Epps. Yeah, you're introvert.
Well, despite being very much an introvert, I do believe in right, and I will fight for what I believe in.
Yes.
And if I believe that this is for me, I'm going to fight for it.
I love that. Would you say it again, please?
If this is for me, I'm going to fight for it. And
I love that. I love that. If this is for me, I'm going to fight for it. And you have fought for it. Bless your heart. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on so I don't get emotional. Yeah.
Well, I like that's one thing I love to tell students, that look, if it's for you, you're going to fight for it, and you're going to do what it takes to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so what drives me also is that, there has been, it's just, my mom was a big driver for me, seeing people do great and wonderful things and being passionate about it. That passion that they have, I had to figure out what was I passionate about and what was it that I wanted to do. And it's those things that drive me also.
Right.
And so, sometimes you do have to fight for it, though. And people are going to tell you otherwise, but it is what you believe in yourself and what the people who you love, who give you constructive criticism, is that's what matters, not what people who you don't trust say.
So when you were in high school, we're still in high school here for a minute, did any of your teachers try to convince you that you're really not all that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, it started from, it was a typing teacher even.
A typing teacher?
Yes. And so,
what did a with all due respect to typing teachers, what did she or he have to say to you?
Well, it was partly my fault because she was treating a friend of mine really poorly and for no reason. And so, unfortunately, like I said, I'm an extremely shy person. I spoke up for her, and for my friend, that is. And I got into trouble for it with this teacher. But despite people like that, I had the principal who knew my entire family on my side. And he said, this is out of character for Jeanette. So something must be wrong. And he trusted me and encouraged me. And it was things like that that happened in my life. Despite having someone who was so against me, there were more people for me. And so the principal of the school, we had a teacher named Mrs. Valerio, who was determined to get us into the National Honor Society. And despite this typing teacher and despite everything that happened, Gina and I got into the National Honor Society. So there were a lot of people like that in high school who trusted us, knew our character, knew our entire family, who helped us through.
Wonderful. I was going to hit this in part 2, but I think I want to ask you now. Would you kindly say a word to our mid-high and senior high school students, and maybe even to their parents, particularly those who are catching it right now? Because, I don't want to go into details of that, but all teachers are not as supportive of students as they should be. And some of our parents are just catching Hades right now. So would you just say a word of encouragement to them?
Well, so what started me on the journey, believing that I can become a scientist, was I had an older brother who was in college at Rochester Institute of Technology near Syracuse, New York. He came home one fall, and he looked at mine and Janet's grades, and he said to Janet and me, wow, with grades like this in math and science, you can become an aerospace engineer or even an astronaut or some kind of scientist. And I thought to myself, well, they probably won't pick me to be an astronaut, but I can definitely become an aerospace engineer. And it was that one word that someone planted in me.
And one word.
One word. And it stuck with me through my entire life that I'm going to become an aerospace engineer no matter what. And so whatever teachers and parents say to their kids, they really do internalize it. And they carry it with them throughout their lives. And they become what you tell them. So I think speaking positive words into these kids' lives is so important, and encouraging them, because there's some talent in every kid that you can encourage them and tell them, this is awesome that you've done this. Have you ever thought about becoming X, Y, Z? You can really make or break a child with words.
You can make or break a child with words. Monica, I feel you rolling up on me. You want to say something?
I'm rolling up on you.
I can feel you.
I am, because that is so profound, what you said, Jeanette. And I can even look back into my own life in elementary school, where a teacher told my mom I would suffer as a student because of my math and science skills.
What?
And because I talked too much in her classroom. And I remember that. And this teacher just passed away this year, and I have held that for 300 years, right? And I finally released it and realized I've got to let that go, because the power of life and death is in my tongue, and it is in what my parents have instilled. So I echo everything that you've said, Jeanette, to our children. This is why we are here today. Do not be confined by anyone's limited perceptions of who you are. You are who God says you are, and you get what you fight for. That's it. That's it. That's the reason we are drawing STEM into this community. That's the reason we will pursue a STEM academy and a STEM camp right here in this church.
Woo!
Because our leadership promotes it and our children deserve it. And we will continue this year after year. As we're working out the details with COVID and making sure it will be safe this summer in whatever way we deliver it, it will be delivered, and it will come here for this reason, because children need to know what's possible. And this is why representation matters. And this is why we are so grateful to you for allowing us to share this platform.
Oh, please.
To get the word out,
Yeah.
because it matters.
Right.
And you can do this.
Right.
You love to drive cars. You love to look at cars. You can design cars, right?
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And we can, sports are great and wonderful. And I was not athletic. That was never an option for me. In sports, people go and say, this is what I want to be when I grow up, because I want to make all this money of an athlete. And that's great. But the money of technology rules the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got to prepare our children.
Yeah.
And you always have a job.
And you
Always have a job.
you are always employable. Always.
That's Monica Foley. You can Google her too. No slouch for sure.
Not at all.
So keep going, Jeanette. I'm enjoying
Yeah.
this. This is good. This is good.
So I didn't even take physics, right? I took biology, chemistry. That was into my science career right there. 10th grade, 11th grade year. They had physics. I ran from physics. What led you, we're moving on to college now. Physics. What was it about physics that called your name?
Well, it's interesting because I majored in physics because the school that I went to was a really small Jesuit college.
Yeah. Give us the name of it, please.
It was Lemoyne College in Syracuse, New York.
Big time school. You haven't heard of it? Big time. Google that too.
Well, it's a small Jesuit school, but
by the way,
Jesuits-
Dr. Epps is now on the board of trustees of the schools.
I am.
So congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And so it's a wonderful school, and I say this hindsight. I was one of those kids who wanted to get into school and start, doing physics or engineering stuff. And so I ended up in physics because that was all they had. They had physics, biology, and chemistry. And I was supposed to do 3 years at Lemoyne and then go to an engineering school like Manhattan College for engineering. I decided to finish the 4 years in physics and then go on to graduate school instead, so that I can get into aerospace and just start working on what at the time, I knew was my passion.
Now, Doc, let me ask you this, and I ask you this question delicately, right? A major like physics at your school, I assume had a bunch of guys in it. Okay. And I further assume, I could be wrong, that guys would some of them would either explicitly or implicitly suggest to you that you don't belong in that space. So my question is, assuming that's true, and even if it isn't, assume it could have been true, what did you do other than kick their butt to overcome that, other than making A's? So did you, seriously, did you exchange with them, or did you just stay focused on the prize? How do you handle that kind of mess?
Well, so I don't know how I knew, but I picked and chose my battles wisely. Those people didn't matter to me at all, and so they could say what they want. There was one person who happened to be an instructor who I ended up working for and building oscillators for him and doing all kind of things in the lab for him, but he did not, he wasn't a proponent of Jeanette, despite all of this work that I did for him. And he was not kind, but I knew that he was wrong. And because my mom, my dad, my brothers and my sisters, everyone else told me otherwise. So there was no reason for me to believe what he said that was so contrary to what I had heard over and over and over again. And so, I didn't even give him the time of day. I didn't go back and, have any words for him. I did not, I didn't change my behavior towards him because I think that showed him that I didn't really take his opinion kindly or take it at all.
So when folk thought you couldn't know, and when folk thought you shouldn't be in the space, did that motivate you?
I had one awesome teacher, Dr. Evelyn Munsey, in undergrad at Lemoyne College,
Right, that's what
she said, look, Jeanette, you got to fight for them. You got to show them. They said you couldn't do this. You need to show them. She probably does not remember saying that to me, but it was that spirit that she said, you need to show them, Jeanette, and just show them what you can do. And so having her encourage me, and along with my family, none of these other people, they just
didn't matter.
No,
Looking
back, I was like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe that I just kind of like brushed them off and kept it moving. And sometimes that's what kids have to do. You can't fight every battle, and not every battle is worth fighting. And so there are some battles you have to fight in life, but those petty ones are not them. Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. You're gonna hear that again.
True. It's true. Those petty battles are not worth it.
Yeah. So we graduate now from undergrad, and now it's time to go to grad school. Was it ever any doubt that you were going to go to grad school?
There was, but I think in life we always we are ourselves. Well, let me put it this way: we are our worst enemy sometimes. And then self-doubt can creep in.
Self-doubt.
Yes, self-doubt.
You had self-doubt?
Oh yes, I think.
About what?
About whether or not I should, pursue this. Can I finish a PhD? And so, to me at the time it was so monumental.
Excuse me. So, I assume you made A's in high school.
Yes.
I assume you made enough A's in college.
Yes.
So, and I know you don't know me, I don't know you, and I'm asking you these personal questions, so feel free to tell me to go fly a kite. But I'm asking you these intentionally because some folk are listening and you're really helping them now. Academically and acumen-wise and IQ-wise, there was no doubt you could do this. So where did the self-doubt come in?
Well, you have to realize, and so I think this is important for kids to hear also. And so,
yes. It's important for adults to hear this too.
And I think it's normal to have self-doubts because I didn't have a family member who had done this before. And it was something that I didn't know anyone who had done this before. And it was very new.
Right.
And so it's like, wow, what if I can't get through this program? And also, at University of Maryland, it was a wonderful school in that there were so many students from all over the world, and they weren't like the last person in their class, and they weren't. So these were some very smart people who were joining the ranks that I was joining the ranks of.
Right.
And so a lot of self-doubt can creep in.
Yeah.
And it's having that support system and determination to work hard and be as good as anyone else in there.
Yeah.
And that will get you through.
University of Maryland at College Park is regarded as one of the leading universities actually in the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we recently had Dr. Darrell Pines, who was on my dissertation committee, become the president of that university.
Oh, wow.
African-American gentleman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing person.
Yeah.
So it's a great school.
It is a great school.
Oh, very much so.
It is a great school. Yeah. So you got your master's there and PhD there.
Yes.
Now, help me with this. I think I read somewhere where the word philosophy and aerospace engineering were on the same line. Huh?
Yeah.
What in the world do philosophy and aerospace engineering have to do with each other? Help me, please.
Well, I think that they were saying a doctor of philosophy in aerospace engineering because I spent so much time there. I spent 7.5 years there. And so one of the things I always love to ask students actually is how many years do they think I spent in school after high school? And when I tell them that with college and graduate school, it was almost another K through 12. It was 11.5 years.
What?
Yeah, and so that's why you end up with this doctorate of philosophy because you've spent
Oh,
so much time
wait.
in science.
So after 12th grade, you were in school another 11 years?
Yes.
Doctor, walk us through that real quickly. How does that calculate?
Well, so I did 4 years in undergrad, and then I took
Oh, after high school. I'm
after
sorry.
high
Okay.
school,
Oh, yeah.
after high
Got
school,
it.
yes.
Right. Okay.
And so
I got
4
it.
years undergrad, and then
I got
2.5 years so it just takes a long
Yep,
time. And
yep.
a lot of students think that it just happens overnight.
Yeah.
And I want to let them know it's like a lot of consistency over time.
Uh-huh.
And so you got to put the time and energy in, and it's just a lot of being consistent, working hard, and putting the time and effort in.
We want to talk about Nemo and caves and ISS
Sure.
in a minute. We're going to take a little break. It's 1:30.
Okay.
So as part of KWK, 1:30, we pause with a very somber note to share the names of church family members who've passed away. Miss Thelma Brackens passed away. I want to be in prayer for her family, and Brother Silas King III. You may have also noted in the news that Vernon Jordan passed away as well. He was a real trailblazer with the Urban League, and really a trailblazer in terms of corporate board seats. So be in prayer for them and for their families. Amen. Charles, let's do this. Let's run through the highlights for the upcoming week. Tonight, Doc, do you like jazz?
I love jazz.
Listen, well, tonight we've got some awesome jazz musicians. Joe Carmouche and our own Patrick Tribbett will be performing. We mentioned a link into that. And then, of course, the Family Fast is coming up. And the times and then the dates are on the screen. And the drive-in worship, we have, while you flying up to wherever you're going, we're going to be right over here on the parking lot. Resurrection Sunday. In fact, you can get in, I'm sure Monica will just have you in her back seat indiscreetly. You come on over and worship with us on Resurrection Weekend. And you've got the times that's Saturday night at 6 and then Sunday morning 5:30, 8 o'clock and 10 a.m. And we've got corporate prayer coming up, R&R. And of course, I got to say this because I got to keep peace in my own house. Conversation with Suzette. Sister Suzette. Was it Sister Talk with Suzette? Thank you, Don. Sister Talk with Suzette on this Sunday, 3 o'clock p.m. They're going to be kicking it and rolling. It's going to be a lot of fun. I want to thank Ron and Sister Smith and Charles and Don, the guy back there with the glasses on, he's the one who came up with the idea for KWK in the first place. Every now and then, we like to just say that, give him his props. Plus, his mama is listening from Louisiana. Yeah, and then a guy in the green cap, yeah, he's always back there rolling the camera. That's our millennial guy in residence there. And then, of course, we got Kevin, who's got his NASA T-shirt on. I don't know why he wore his NASA T-shirt today. And of course, the guy with the new haircut is D back there with the little braids. Yeah, he thinks he's cute. So just pray for him if you would, please. And it's all good in Jesus' name. Yeah. So you finished with a PhD. By the way, do we have any idea, you're a physics major, how many African-American sisters, women in general, have a PhD in physics? They're not, relatively speaking, can't be too many.
No, they are out there, though. That's the nice thing. And that's why I love the fact that you are doing things like this so that kids will know that these people exist. And we as a community, we do this.
Right.
We do everything.
Yeah.
And nothing is out of their reach.
Yeah.
So.
One reason why I'm so glad you're here, and you said it earlier about the doubt, you know, like if you can't see it, it's hard to achieve it. Look at her. I want you to see her. I want you to see her in that blue suit. And for that matter, you're our own now too, but our own Monica doesn't have on an astronaut suit, but this is the bad sister. Y'all heard her 3 or 4 weeks or so ago, chief of staff out there at NASA. And these are models who happen to be African American, happen to be females, but that means a lot. So I want you to see them and receive them and celebrate them and not be like them, because God's calling you to do what he's calling you to do and be who's calling you to be, but know that there are no limits.
Yeah, you know, we are here because our expectation is that we are raising a generation behind us to be greater.
Yes.
So don't be like us. We expect you to excel well above and beyond all that we can accomplish in our lifetime.
Yep.
Doubt is the easiest product to make. People will plant seeds. you will suffer what's called imposter syndrome. It's a big thing.
What does it mean?
It means that you get to a place and you feel like you have not earned it, you don't belong, you don't fit in. And so then you're suffering while you are enjoying that which you have accomplished because you feel that you don't deserve it. That is imposter syndrome. That it's not real, or it's not real for you, that everybody else is supposed to be there. And it's especially difficult when you're the only one that looks like you in a setting, or you're the only one that has the beliefs that you have in a setting, when you cannot relate, when there is no representation. And we are speaking against those walls in every area, because we belong wherever we choose to go, and where we have prepared to be. That is the word of God. And we are the manifestations of that. We are the manifestations of that. And we will sow that into this community. That's why we're here.
You know, we might have to hire Monica. We have to hire Monica. So now we have our master's in physics.
Yes.
We have our have our PhD in physics, right? So what are we thinking now at this point in our lives, as we move on to Ford Motor Company? What's going on?
Well, I will tell you that it was sad to graduate because you work so hard. Well, it's just one of those things. You work through this journey, and then you get it, and then you're like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
What is next on the horizon?
Yeah.
And so for me, one of the things I chose to do was to go work for Ford Motor Company. And part of the reason I did that was because I wanted to show my advisor that his faith in me was not unfounded, that I can take whatever he taught me and I can go anywhere in the world with it and be a great engineer, not just an engineer. And so going to Ford was great, but I really wasn't satisfied.
Right.
And then another opportunity came up, and I took that.
Before we jump that one,
Yep.
CIA, I promised questions.
Yes.
So I want to hold myself. When is the launch? We're gonna throw that to Monica.
Yeah. So the launch dates are always, I say, in flux, because we launch when we're ready, not when the calendar says we go. We launch when it's safe to launch our crew members, and the vehicle is ready, and we have all of the appropriate technical authorities aligned and in concurrence. So right now, I believe the latest launch schedule, published schedule, says the end of this year, maybe early next year. But we launch when we're ready, and she's going, and that's what matters.
Amen.
That does. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm gonna hold that question as we kind of ease into. So, anything else you want to tell us about Ford?
Ford was wonderful.
And how did
to
it
me.
prepare you for what you're doing now?
Well, Ford helped me with the technical aspects of being an astronaut. You know, I did a lot of hands-on
Excuse me, I'm
work.
sorry. So at this point, are you committed to being an astronaut?
No, I told you one of the big things for me was that I had said, well, they'll probably never pick me, but I had a lot of people around me applying to the astronaut program.
While you were working for Ford?
Well, while I was in graduate school and while I was working for Ford.
Gotcha.
And many of those people, I would say probably 99% of those people that I knew who applied did not get in.
99%.
99%. And so it was, you know, it's one of those things to me that you don't prepare to become an astronaut. You're just prepared if they select you to become an astronaut.
Interesting. Yes. You don't prepare to become an astronaut. You just want to be prepared if you're chosen.
Yes.
Interesting.
And, you know, that could be physical, and it has to be technical as well. And mentally, mentally you have to be prepared for it as well.
So, Doc, wait a minute. Let's back up. Oh, thank you. Let's back up for this a second. You don't prepare to be an astronaut. What does that mean?
Well, the chances of being selected are very slim, and you want to make your career something that you really love and enjoy doing, and you want to always be sure to, you know, that career is the only thing that can take you from that career is becoming an astronaut, because you want to enjoy your life. So say you apply and you never get into the astronaut corps. Some people can be very disappointed for the rest of their lives that they didn't get in. But it's not a guarantee that you would get in. And it's not something that you can say, oh, I've got the recipe, I've done this, this, and that, I'm automatically in. It's not one of those kind of things. This is when God smiles on you and you are in that moment in time, you're the selected one.
Mm-hmm.
And so your career has to be something that you love and you enjoy, that you would do for the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
even if you never got into the astronaut corps.
I
So-
love that distinction. Yeah, live your life.
Exactly. Otherwise, yeah, you'll be very disappointed.
Don't be heartbroken. I like that. Okay, excuse me, I interrupted you. I apologize.
Not a problem, not a problem.
Yeah.
And so, so I was talking about a couple of things.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back just a little bit to
Sure.
Ford Motor Company. The big thing with Ford Motor Company for me was that I was able to be an engineer for those 2.5 years, apply for patents and do things like that, actually work hands-on, trying to develop a way to suppress vibrations that's coming into a vehicle through the suspension control arm, and working with other scientists on how to make the car safer, make sensors for the car. And so that really helped me hone and sharpen the skills that I need to be a successful engineer.
Yeah. Let's jump on over into the astronaut part now, because time is ticking real fast. Don, would you show that image, please? So we're showing an image of you now in your suit, and you're in some kind of space vehicle. We probably should have shown this to you before, so you'd know exactly what you. In fact, Don, can you show it on the screen?
It's either the airplane or maybe you're
Okay.
Yeah, you're dressed in white, and the inside of the.
No, it's you're getting ready to go in the pool.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
So that's
tell us what are you doing, and there it is.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, yes.
And then secondly, I know no day is typical, but what's an atypical day? I mean, just pick a day and tell us what you did.
Okay, for example, yesterday, even though we have COVID, I had to get up and meet at Ellington Airfield at 7 a.m. so that we could go fly and just practice flying.
So where'd you go?
And so we flew to Chenault and we flew back.
Chenault.
Chenault, near Lake Charles, Louisiana. So we fly the jets. We fly T-38 jets. So it's a T-38 jet.
T-38 jet.
Yeah, it's the trainer jet that the Navy and the Air Force use to train their pilots.
I see.
And we use those because I'm a civilian.
So you just jump in and take off. Huh?
Well, we learn a lot about it before we do that.
You think?
Yes, we learn a lot about it. Well, so this is all the notion that kids have. Oh, you guys just don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but we have to learn a lot because it's a supersonic jet.
Oh.
And we operate in high threat environments, and we have to perform well. Even though we're in this high threat environment, we have to perform well. And we have to work with the front seater in order to fly the jet safely and land it safely.
Right.
If we can't work together as a crew, then anything can happen in the jet.
Yeah.
So just in February, we flew to Florida. We flew at 41,000 feet.
I was about to ask you.
Yeah, 41,000 feet.
That's above the clouds.
It's way above the clouds, and it is always sunny up there, which is nice. I really enjoy that. We fly high, we fly fast. And that's a high threat environment. And being able to work closely with the person in the front seat to fly it safely, land it safely, is a part of the crew resource management. But also, the jet, you learn so much about the jet that it's translated into the work you need in order to be a good astronaut and fly in space safely.
Yeah.
Like sitting in the back seat of the jet, you've got you're in this really small space. You've got this harness on. You've got a face mask on and a helmet, and it's really tiny. And it's almost like being in the spacesuit when you do a spacewalk. You're slightly uncomfortable, but you still have to perform at a very high level. So we kind of practice that being slightly uncomfortable.
So what does that feel like when you're taking off? I mean, do you feel like you're about to eat your stomach?
No, I'm looking out the window. I'm looking outside and watching the ground pull away from me, and it's amazing to me. And I have to watch
I'm
the
scared
needles.
of you.
No, after a while you'll get used to it too.
So there's a lesson in that, right? So always keep your bearings, no matter what the excitement or the stress level or the threat is around you.
Exactly, slightly
she's looking
uncomfortable.
at the ground as it's pulling away because she's staying focused and keeping her bearings.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll translate across all of your life.
Yeah.
Yes.
In every area.
Yeah.
That was good, Jeanette.
I like how you related to that.
We have about 16 minutes left. His time is passing real fast. Let me get to because I want to get this out in the first session here. This is part one.
Okay.
International Space Station.
Yes.
It's about the length of a football field, I guess.
Yep.
and I don't know how wide it is.
It's about the width of a football
Football.
field. Is.
Right.
It's
Yes,
huge.
it is. It's pretty big.
And it's up there about 220 miles above.
Yep.
So when you get there, what are you going to do?
Oh, that's going to be so I like to think that I'm closer to God when I do that.
Well, you will
And
be.
So, yeah.
I mean,
And so-
we're pretty close to him down here, but it's, it's vertical counts. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think I would be like a kid in a candy store looking out one of the windows, the cupola window, and just be mesmerized by the earth and how it looks from that vantage point. But I also know that once we get there, we're going to be experiments in and of ourselves, because we got to figure out the human body, how we can get the human body to live longer outside of the Earth's protection. Like, how do we live on the moon? So everything we learn about ourselves, about our genetics, about how our blood will behave, our bones, and I must say blood, but really cardiovascular, your heart, everything that goes on in your body. And so we're learning a ton about the human body. So we're going to do some of those experiments, but we're also doing other experiments. Like, it could be an experiment on material science. It could be a science experiment where we're working in a glove box and we're working with mice. And we're figuring out medical things using the mice, similar to what we do here on Earth. And so when you take away gravity, it's interesting how so many things change. And so how does the material behave? How does your bones behave? How are your genes going to behave? How does a flame behave in space versus here on Earth? So we're going to do a lot of science on board the space station. And in the meantime, when we're not doing that, we'll eat together and have fun and take lots of pictures and be mesmerized, I think.
Play cards, huh?
Well, they'll float away. We'll put some GoPro on them so we can.
So we have a question, and before we ask this question,
Yes.
I want to ask you this. Before we get to that question, I want to ask you this question in part one. What does space taste like? Somebody, I read somewhere where it has a taste to it when you're out there. It has a certain taste or aroma to it. Is that true?
I don't know if that's true, but I will tell you, one of the things I do know is that because you have this fluid shift in your body, you may have
Fluid shift in your body?
Yes, because there's no gravity pulling it down.
Right.
So everything kind of floats up a little bit, and you may feel a little bit stuffy. And so people do say that food tastes different in space. And the other thing that I hate to say is that we don't actually have a shower there.
I was about to ask you about that, actually.
So it may be one of your. No, that's just a joke. No. But we do have
What?
sponge
No, seriously.
baths
Do
and
you?
things.
I mean, so you do a Navy shower?
A Navy shower every day. And so it could be that, but I think that your taste buds do change a little bit while you're in space.
So maybe keep it real for a second. This is some folk gonna hit me for this. How do you relieve yourself up there?
Well, we have to practice here on Earth first.
You do it in the pool or what?
No. Well, so we practice understanding how the toilet works in space.
I see.
So right now there's a total of 3 on orbit. The Russian segment has one, and we have now have 2 as of about 2 or 3 months ago. We've got 2 in the U.S. segment. And so the way it works is that
I'm sorry. So the Russians have a segment and the United States has a segment?
Yes.
On the ISS?
On the ISS.
So I thought we were flying together.
Well, we do, but they built one section, and they're made with components that come from Russia. And ours is made with the majority components from the U.S., Canada, European Space Agency, and Japan.
So that in part is why it took 10 years to build it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And it's this huge accomplishment with so many international partners coming together to do one thing amazing. And so
back to the toilets.
Yes. So the way it works, because there's no gravity, everything floats.
Right.
So it's basically a vacuum.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's a big vacuum.
I hope you have your own little quarter or boudoir section.
Well, what happens, we all use the same one, and you don't want to be that crewmate that does something wrong. So that's why it's like you have to really practice and behave.
Oh, Lord.
So there are videos out there that, astronaut Sunita Williams, who is a part of Jeanette's crew,
Yes.
she actually has videos showing the toilets in space. and how you use it and how they're properly fit in the wipes. And you can go to iss.nasa.gov or just Google ISS toilets, and there's a video of Sunny giving
There you go.
step by step.
Are there any physical limitations, thank you very much, for the space program? I initially majored in aerospace engineering, congratulations, and inquired about the cadet program years ago.
Okay, physical limitations. I'm not sure exactly what you're thinking about, but if you're talking about height requirements, now that we're flying in the United States, the minimum and maximum height are a little bit different nowadays. I'm not sure what the numbers are exactly, but for the Soyuz, I know that there was a height limitation because it's so small. And that's the Russian shuttle that we would take to the International Space Station as well. And so physically, you should be fit. While I was in graduate school and undergrad, I did a lot of running. I did a lot of aerobics, step aerobics, and things like that, and lifting weights. So now one of the big things we do as a countermeasure to keep our bones strong and healthy is we do resistive weight training. So we lift weights in a sense on orbit. But here on Earth, we do a lot of weight training too. Like we do a lot of deadlifts and squats, weighted squats, sumo deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, and you really build your bones up before you actually fly in space. And so physically, you should be fit. You don't have to be the super athlete to be the one, but you should be physically fit to a good level. And I always say I was not the athlete in school, but I was always exercising, always doing things like that. So,
Are you at liberty to say what vitamins you take? Or what vitamins you would recommend for the normal person to be healthy?
well, I think it depends on the person. And so for me, I just take a basic hair, skin, and nails kind of vitamin. And that's because I want to keep my hair healthy and strong and my skin. But really, it depends on the person. And there are some good supplements out there that you can take. You know, there could be a number of things. It could be enzymes that you want to take. Some kind of drink with branched chain amino acids in it.
Right.
Different things like that. But I think that a lot of those things it should be individualized.
Yeah, sure.
And it shouldn't be generalized to each person.
Well, you know, most black folk are vitamin D deficient. That's one
Yes.
reason why we get COVID more than. So I always encourage folk to make sure D.
When I
as in
started the
David.
Corps, that is a good one. But the type that you take so that it's
That's a good point.
absorbed
Right.
is tricky.
Yeah.
And you know, originally the flight docs at NASA wanted me to take this vitamin D supplement, but it never really helped. And every year I had a low vitamin D count, but there are certain supplements like it's called DIM and DIM, and it's a chemical term. And sometimes you can buy this at Vitamin Shop, things like that, and it does have a D3 that's associated with it.
Right.
You can go to Vitamin Shop and ask them for DIM. It's diinyl. I can't say it.
Right.
Methylate, something like that.
DIM. Yeah.
Yes, but it balances your hormones, and it's associated. It has a D3, vitamin D3 associated. That was one of the only ways that now I'm not considered vitamin D deficient.
Yeah.
Running in the sun didn't help.
Right.
So nothing really helped me at all.
Yeah.
It was eating a really good diet,
Yes.
lots of good fish, cheese, and certain things like that. And because the best way to
Veggies,
get
Doc. Veggies.
Veggies, yes, veggies definitely, because the best way to get the supplements is through food.
Right.
So one of the experiments I hope we'll get to do is food as a countermeasure.
Huh.
So how do you keep your body healthy and strong? There are certain foods that you can eat that will help you.
Yeah.
And so
There's a child-related question here, so we want to hit this before we wrap. My 10-year-old, 9-year-old, and 6-year-old sons, who are very curious about space, want to know, how long have you been an astronaut, and how old were you when you became?
they're figuring out my age. Well,
You can Google her. She's public property.
I am public property. I'm government.
Government property, not public, government, right.
Well, I've been an astronaut since 2009, and I was 38 when I was selected. So, so you can figure out the math.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a black hole or the shadow of one?
Well, so what's cool is that nowadays, recently, in the past couple of years, someone actually got a photograph of a black hole, a real black hole. So the theory of them has now been proven. And I don't know all the details of it, but I've seen the image of it. You can go online and look it up. But for decades, we have been looking for a black hole. How do you see it? How do you view it? And we believe that we've actually photographed one recently. Recently meaning in the past couple of years.
So your list of pages asking about your hobbies. This is a great time for us to do our 60-second rapid fire, right?
So the hobbies.
No, wait. So
Okay.
you ready? It's rapid fire.
Okay.
Your favorite book?
Man's Search for Meaningfulness.
Ooh. Favorite movie?
Love Jones.
I love this. Favorite artist?
Sade.
Oh. The day before you leave to go to ISS, what's your meal? What's your favorite meal?
Any meal with my nieces and nephews.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. Favorite quality you look for in a true friend? Well, two qualities.
Two qualities. Well, someone who's
Three.
adventuresome.
Adventuresome.
Yes.
I can't imagine
And
why.
someone who has your back.
Ooh, talk about that.
Yes.
How about that? Somebody who has your back.
Yes.
Pet peeve.
Phony people.
Phony
Yeah.
people.
Because it always comes through.
It always comes
It really
through.
does.
Favorite spot to go deep sea diving? I know that's one of your hobbies.
Oh gosh. So I went to the Philippines.
Did
years
you?
ago.
Did you?
Oh,
It's beautiful over there.
Oh, it was absolutely otherworldly diving there. And you would swear that you were on another planet if you saw what was under the water.
What'd
there.
you see?
These giant clams,
How big is giant?
bigger than this table.
No.
Yeah.
A clam?
It was.
Could you eat it?
Well, it was huge. I don't know. I saw a diver swim over it and it closed. And I said, okay, I'm not going to go over there.
Yeah.
And so, and then everything under the water is alive and moves. Whew. Some of the strangest looking things that you think is a plant, it's actually an animal that's moving along the floor. Gosh, and there's just so many weird creatures that are under the water. It really is like being on another planet.
Wow. Last one. Favorite childhood memory?
Gosh, there's a lot of them. One of my favorite was my mom, my twin sister, well, all of us. We went to a park in Syracuse called Thornton Park, and we just played around the whole day.
Yeah.
It was a nice summer day. There were flowers everywhere, and I remember falling down the hill and getting cut, and my mom and dad just looking at it and patching me up. But we had a great time that day.
Yeah. That's solid. Yeah. This is Dr. Jeanette Epps, who's going not up yonder, but
Not yet.
going to ISS for sure. Don, is that something I'm supposed to say about COVID vaccine comparison? Oh yeah, you want to show that real quick as we wrap it? Is it on the screen? It's the COVID comparison. Listen, there's a lot of controversy out there right now about vaccine, no vaccine. I presume you've taken one.
Yes.
You had to take one.
I did.
I presume you've taken one. You had to take one. Make your own determination about it, but we have the vaccine comparisons for you right there on the screen. Don, if you need to know, okay, where can I take the vaccine? Who can I call? I'm sure Don will make that information available for you, and we surely want your conscience to be your guide, as old folks used to say, and make the intelligent decision to protect your life and the lives of others. Don, how much time do we have left officially? I thought so. So again, we're going to air part 2 once Dr. Epps takes off. We have a minute left. What do you want to say?
Well, thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity
Oh, no,
to
thank you.
show kids that there's so much out there for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you, Monica, for having me.
Yeah.
This is what I mean by friends who have your back and have your interests, your best interest at heart.
Yes.
And so, thank you.
Monica, you have a question? Since you
No,
pulled this together, the influencer.
Speechless. I am speechless because when I think about what this will mean in the lives of the children that will watch this, I am in awe of your grace
Oh, you too kind.
and your grace and talent. I think about where a little kid like me could be had I seen this or have had this exposure at their age, at any age, beyond being an adult and bringing it in. So we have to nurture this, and we cannot take these moments for granted that there are human beings like the one sitting right here that want to make this investment in other people's children and in the lives of other human beings. This is a phenomenal gift of God, and we do not take this lightly.
You are a phenomenal gift of God for sure.
This
STEM is coming. We are having it. Passover is coming as well. Let's celebrate it. We thank God for Dr. Epps.
Thank you.
And Sister Foley, too.